Hello and welcome to the Coaching Crowd podcast with me, Jay Wheatley, and my friend and co-host Zoe Hawkins.
Hello, everybody. We are here for another Coaching Crowd podcast episode today. And this week, we are going to be focusing on focus and intentions. It is that time of year where lots of people are starting to think about goals, or maybe have been thinking about goals and New Year's resolutions. And Joe and I, behind the scenes, were just having a conversation around how we approach goal setting or not in our own lives, and how we as clients, I suppose, experience goal setting. So we just wanted to bring some conversation around focus and intention and goals as thought provocation, really, that you can pass on to your clients or filter in through your work. And for those of you thinking of setting yourself some goals for 2023, hopefully this gives you some new perspective to be able to think about that through.
Yeah, so lots to say about goals. Goals are often thought about as the be all and end all of coaching, the success or the failure of coaching from the coachee's experience and also from the coach's experience. I personally don't particularly focus on setting goals for the year from January to December. For me, it's a continual process of review. I was saying to Zoe that I feel like I will have like a biggish, professional goal. I'll have a personal, biggish personal goal, and I hold on to it in my mind or internally tightly enough for me to keep my focus and intentions around it. And so I don't drop it, but also enough so that I can choose to put it down. If things change, then I'm prepared to adapt or put it on the back burner and bring something else into the focus, because life can change. What about you, Zoe?
Yeah, I don't really like goals, which is coming from a coach is interesting, isn't it? But I've always felt a certain amount of pressure with goals. Every time goals has been introduced, kind of, through my history, it's always been through the lens of like smart goal setting. You make sure it's specific, make sure it's measurable, make sure it's achievable, realistic, it's got a time bound. And for me, that just doesn't work. It sort of, I don't know, kills the energy a little bit, I think, in the goal. So I probably around sort of maybe 5 years or so ago, I started switching more to intentions, which for me are a bit more fluid and allow for a bit more creativity and space to be able to grow into the goal as my year or, skills develop. So I will always have a clear intention around what it is that I'm trying to achieve. And that, like you, kind of is always within my peripheral vision. It's always in my focus, but it's also there to be able to shift and change shape if I feel that I want that to. So for me, a year's a really long time. And so if I start out on something and halfway through, I'm like, I'm not sure it looks the same anymore, or I'm not sure I want it in exactly the same way, then I feel like I have the flexibility to be able to adapt, pivot, expand. Sometimes I'll set goals that just aren't big enough, and I'll get a few months into the year and be like, well, hang on a minute. Like, I think I need something, I need a bigger intention to bring more energy to. And how does that sort of translate into my coaching? I think goals are an important part of a coaching conversation. So there's no doubt about that. But I think it's the same with clients. Like, I allow them to bring more courage than perhaps they might be willing to bring in the first instance into their goals, to set them bigger, and invite them to also think of it of a sense of it's a direction, it's an intention. It's not a, if you don't achieve it, you failed type intention and goal, which I think sometimes that's where there's a reluctance to set goals come from, is because it brings with it, well, now I've put that line in the sand. What if I don't get there? And then the energy is all focused on this fear of failure instead of the journey, if you like, towards achievement. So yeah, so coming into 2023, similar to you, I sort of have rolling goals. There's nothing brand new. I'm aware of the things I want to build into my life, the things I want to achieve in business. And sometimes those are things, and often they are the experience I want to have. So something I'm going to be focusing on next year is about connection. So obviously me and you have a great connection, but one of the things that I am looking for in my local area is actually a broader network of other entrepreneurs and successful business owners, and tapping in more to that sense of connection within a professional community, with other peers and colleagues, for no other reason than fun. It's going to bring me lots of fun. It's going to bring me lots of joy. I think I will learn loads from that community. So that for me doesn't have like a specific, I will attend XYZ networking meetings every single month. Like, it's not really about that. It's like, that's my intention. I'm going to make that happen. I don't yet have it all worked out in terms of how I'm going to make that happen, but I know that's what I'm going to focus and bring my energy to as one of the things into 2023.
I think trust is often overlooked when it comes to goals, because as you described that, it's like you have a level of self-trust, which is when you set an intention which is connected to your values, and you have the beliefs that will enable you to achieve it. And so you don't have to put loads of energy into achieving that goal, because you trust that you're going to take those small everyday actions that are going to take you closer to your goal. Clients might not have that level of self-trust, and that's maybe more where the role of the coach comes in, to kind of in a dual way support them with to build that self-trust, and also to be able to plan out the strategies and those micro steps so that they can build the confidence in those two areas. I was also thinking about how Gestalt as a sort of form of coaching psychology informs my goal setting, because I think what some people do when they set goals is they'll set a goal and all of their energy, all of their focus and all of their attention goes onto that goal. And it can be to the exclusion of everything else, which obviously is going to have a knock-on impact on other relationships, other activities and things that you're doing. When we think about the Gestalt cycle of awareness, I think what I enjoy and the way I approach things is I enjoy the feelings of new things emerging. And I love the curiosity around, I think something's going on for me. What is it that when I notice it, what is it going to be? And also, again, being able to hold that loosely isn't necessarily something then I'm like, well, I need to do that. But then I'm still holding that curiosity around, how come that's come into my attention? What else might be happening for me that might lead to that coming in? So I think when I was describing at the start of this conversation about like holding a goal, I would encourage you as coaches, when you're thinking about your own goals, do you set goals and exclude other things from it? Are you able to hold that but also still have a space to allow yourself to notice what else is emerging for you as the year unfolds? And are you bringing questions into your coaching conversations around trust, around what else might emerge for the client, all of those more searching questions that perhaps the client hasn't already brought? I think you and I, Zoe, find that our coaching clients, a lot of them are very clear on what their goals are, the practical ones, and it's the mindset that goes along with it that perhaps they haven't really thought about, but somehow that they're stuck. But obviously we work with clients who find it very difficult to set goals, and will say, I've never set goals, I've sort of done all right, but now I really want to get better at it, and how do I do that? And it would be very easy as a coach to fall into a mentoring role at that point, because you think, well, this is, I can do this all day long, I've got loads of things that I can show you. And sometimes that might be helpful to the client, but also it's being able to hold that space of curiosity around, the cause aspect of it. What is it that's underpinning that pattern of behavior? And that's where it gets really interesting for us, isn't it? Because we believe our clients can do that, but what we're trying to work out is, what is that root cause?
Yeah. And I think goals come from two places. I think there's the goals that you consciously set yourself. So like, I need a new career direction, or I want to come and train as a coach, whichever is perhaps been percolating in your mind for some time. And then for me, there's those goals that kind of come, as you're describing, from the emerging needs and the unconscious around, what's that sensation? What is that trying to inform and tell me? And as I've just sort of described there around my focus for 2023 being connection. Like that's something that's probably been percolating in the background for some time. And as I get more space in the business and I seek to create more downtime, I'm like, actually, what do I want to fill that with? You know, and how do I want to experience my weeks and my days? It's that curiosity, as you've described there. And it's also around needs, isn't it? You know, like you set goals, or you can encourage yourself and your clients to set goals based on their needs. You know, what is it that they want to fill their life with? You know, what is it that they can sense as an emerging need? And that might be an emotion, it might be an experience. It's not always a doing thing. And I think as coaches, we can become quite narrow-minded when we are working with clients, particularly clients who are very clear on what it is that they want to achieve, that we can have a narrow scope of it's always the things that they need in order to set goals on. But actually, I think a lot of the time it's the experiences, it's the being, it's the essence of who we are that actually is important to set goals around as well. And it's about both, you know, it's about balance. And that will depend on our, you know, the client's personal values or your personal values as a coach as to where you choose to put your focus, your intention, or your goals for, you know, for the forward period.
Yeah, and sometimes they'll miss the emotional goals. So it'll be around what they want, and they're not, you know, as a coach, we're thinking, okay, they're clear on that, and then I might be thinking, what else might they not be clear on that might be important or useful for them in order for them to achieve their goal in the way that they want to. So I might inquire as the coach, and as you're achieving that, how do you want to be feeling, or what feeling is that going to bring to life for you? What impact will that have on you? So when we are supporting our clients with goals, I think it's important that we can take a 360 view with them and get creative with our questions, and also that we hold space when our clients connect with a goal that's really important for them. I think it's also really useful for us to just hold that space for them to really connect into it, and almost be there in having achieved that goal for a bit. And we've obviously got, you know, very powerful activities that we can also use with clients, and we teach people on our ILM programs that will enable people to coaches to support their clients to align their values, their beliefs, their the legacy that they want to create, their environment, their behaviors, all of those things with their goals, so that goals aren't a discussion that is separate to the other aspects of their life that are fundamental to their well-being.
And I think that's also important, just to have a lens on when it comes to goal setting. And obviously in a coaching relationship, you want to choose one or two goals for the focus of your coaching. But I think it's important to think about for ourselves, and perhaps encourage our clients, if it's appropriate, to look at your whole life and not just to focus around goals in one avenue of life. So yes, you may be very ambitious and driven, and there's a desire to set professional goals, and absolutely, definitely do that, because that is clearly aligned to your values. And also take a look at what we call the costs and consequences. You know, so is achieving those goals, are the costs and consequences of achieving those goals actually acceptable to you? What about the rest of your life? Do you actually need to set goals in other areas of your life to balance, to counterbalance the professional goals that you're setting? And every year, I know both, not as much every year at a point in time, but me and you, Joe, are always looking for CPD, interesting and stimulating CPD opportunities, aren't we? We will each send ourselves like an email. Oh, have you seen this program? Oh, have you seen that program? And that is really for that balance, you know, because we could spend all of our time building this business and giving time, and yes, also with the family, but actually, what about our own minds? Who do we go to stimulate us and our learning and our professional growth? And because there's so many wonderful educators out there, that is something that we look for every single year. And that might be small scale, it might be large scale. And now I would say I'm due another big dose of CPD. I think the last sort of really big program I did There was my supervision qualification. I also did a diploma in hypnotherapy last year, which is more of a self-study option. But I'm looking now for that space to dive in with other coaches, to enter into a learner's mindset, to get into a community, to learn something new. And I think that's brewing for 2023. And for those of you who have that sense as well of like, actually, I've been really focused on my business, or I've been really focused on this, what is going to be important to you and what also may be important to your clients, to bring that balance back in around whole life experience rather than perhaps having a bias in one particular area.
When you think about your CPD, which is obviously a requirement for accreditation, I think having breadth across your CPD. So when you're setting goals around your CPD, often people will focus on their passion. What is it that I'm really interested in? I think it's equally important when you're setting goals to look at the gaps. So what gaps have I got in my CPD? What have I noticed from my reflections after coaching sessions? You know, are there particular things where you didn't feel equipped maybe, but there was a desire, or the client wanted to explore something, maybe you didn't feel capable, so you kind of shut that down a little bit? What are the gaps? And as scary as that might be to be stretched, or sometimes the fear of who else is going to be on the CPD program, how will I measure up, will I belong in that space? The more you can resource yourself and be, as you said, so in that learner mindset, and remind ourselves how our new clients feel when they come and join us and meet us in that coaching space, I think the better that, you know, we will be as coaches in the work that we do with that continued growth mindset.
Yeah. So, you know, today we've had a meander around goal setting, focus, intentions. Joe there mentioned the Gestalt cycle of awareness, which, if it's not something you're familiar with, go and check out our YouTube channel. We have a video on the Gestalt cycle of awareness there, which you can take a look at. I think it includes a demonstration, but it might be a walkthrough of the activity. So go and take a look at that. And for CPD this year, if you're a qualified coach, then come and check out our emotions coaching program, which we put together from a place of passion and interest in the field of emotions, but also recognizing that coaching emotions can be a tricky topic for many coaches, because you're navigating that boundary between coaching and what might start to feel like you're dipping into other fields such as therapy or counseling. So we help people to work with emotions in a safe and ethical way, and feeling confident about the work that we can do as coaches for bigger and bolder transformations with our clients. So do check that out. That is available at www.igcompany.co.uk/emotions coaching.